What's going on, Stratford, Texas? Welcome to episode 59, season 4 of Talking Throws podcast, Texas style. I'm Coach Jason.
And I'm Coach Janelle.
And we are throws coaches with the track club, the Throwing Factory. Go to thethrowingfactory.com to check out our bios and info. We're looking to build our team and get ready for indoor for 2022. So if you have any questions about online lessons or face-to-face private lessons, you can find our contact information on thethrowingfactory.com. And then also a reminder about Coach Kai Smith, West at Throwing Factory, is doing lessons online and in person as well, and Coach Jarvis, East at the Throwing Factory as well. And then also remind everybody on the shop page, we have brand new apparel that you can go check out. So if you want to look cool at your next track meet, indoor, outdoor, go shop at the throwingfactory.com website. We want to thank our season 4 sponsors. Without them, we couldn't do what we do. They take care of us, so we hope that we take care of them. First off, we want to thank Texas Track and Field Coaches Association, Mr. Stuart Cantor. That website is ttfca.org, ttfca.org, for the latest in all things track and field in the state of Texas. I know the recruiting's going on. Right now, I'm looking at their website. We got a couple throwers listed. Madison Sorrell just committed to Boston University. She's out of Benbrook High. And then our very own Hayden Wilson out of Mansfield Lake Ridge has committed with Coach Johnson at the University of Arkansas, Little Rock. So shout out to them. We got a lot of distance runner, a couple pole vaults on there. So go to ttfc.org to check out the latest commitments as well. And then also remind everybody about the Winter Clinic coming up January 6th and 7th at the Great Wolf Lodge. You can use 2022 track for discounts on room rates as well. So then also 4throws.com. Quality implements price right. Go to 4throws.com. Use the code TalkingThrows10 to get 10% off. Right now at Talking Throws, at 4throws.com, you can be able to find the new fiber sport discus that will be up on their website. This is the 2K right there, and then this is the 1K as well. Looking good. So you can go to 4throws.com to check them out. Use the code TalkingThrows10 to get the 10% off. And also too, they're having closeout sales on weight discus bags, low rim, training shot puts, training pole vaults, training hammers. They have a sale on a training hammer for $82.99. So go to 4throws.com to be able to check those out. Next, Porta-Circle, making throwing more accessible. Go to porta-circle.com. Use the code TalkingThrows10. As y'all know, winter's coming. It's already probably up north. You can put that Porta-Circle on a basketball gym, in a parking lot, in a driveway, or in a hallway if you want to get those extra reps in. So go to porta-circle.com. Our favorite athletic development, Ready Up Athletic Development, Zach Phillips heads that. You can contact Zach at 512-507-8347. I know he's doing a lot of Olympic lifting, which is right up our alley that we do at Lifting DFW. I know he's got some brand new equipment down there as well. So go contact Zach if you want to become a high-level athlete or just getting physical and mental shape. Go contact Zach at Ready Up Athletic Development. And then finally, Fiber Sports Discus. Welcome to a new way to get the distance. Fiber Sports Discus is taking the guesswork out of the discus selection. It's just not about the rim weight anymore, guys. Fibersportsdiscus.com. Contact Bruce Caldwell at 817-819-1472 to get more information on those discs. Go to that website because he does a really good job of breaking down the clinical studies behind changing the whim rates and all that type of stuff that he developed the disc as well. So be sure to check those out. And then also to remind everybody that we are on YouTube. We have a page on there, so go check us out. Please give us a thumbs up and give us our feedback on that as well. Today's guest is a 2000 graduate of Stratford High School. He was a 2-time state champion in the state qualifier in the shot put, 2-time state qualifier in the discus. He had a PR in high school of 60 feet. In the shot put and the discus, he was 163. He attended McMurry University, where he was a 5-time D3 national champion in shot put. He was a 6-time D3 All-American. He was a 4-time national qualifier in the discus. And in 2018, he decided to get into masters throwing, and he was a national champion for his age group with a mark of 54-1 in the shot put, and that was in 2018. And in 2021, he was actually inducted into the McMurry Hall of Fame, and currently he's actually the throws coach at McMurry University. Please welcome to the podcast, Mr. Cody Brotherton.
All right, Cody, so tell us, in Stratford, Texas, were you a thrower in middle school? And tell us about that if you were.
Yeah, that's a great question. So my throwing journey begins really about 10 years old, which is a very interesting part of my throwing journey. So there's a picture of me about 10 years old with a 12-pound shot put in my hand, and I started throwing in the backyard then. And so my brothers were 9 and 7 years older than me. And they were throwing shot and discus, and honestly, like most people in small towns, not getting a lot of technical coaching, and they were doing their best, but not throwing very far. And they went to a meet, and there was somebody who had good technical training and was throwing really far. And obviously their technique looked good and they knew what they were doing. And so my dad's like, hey, we got to figure this throwing thing out. And so the story is my dad's a Texas A&M alumni. And so he got a hold of Randy Madsen, who's from Pampa, Texas, which is a Panhandle connection. And Randy Madsen said, yeah, there's a lot to throwing. But he said, I would get Mac Wilkins how to throw the discus instructional VHS back then.
Yep.
Yes.
And I've seen that VHS 100,000 times, and that's my introduction to throwing. And so we went on the journey of discovering how to throw, my dad, my brothers, and myself. And so my oldest brother was 1 year too old. He got the very tail end of that. So he was a good Texas Panhandle, right, offensive, defensive lineman, but he just missed out on the throwing journey. And then so my middle brother, Matt, we all started learning together. So his senior year, he won state championship in the discus at 172, and then he got a silver in the shot put at 56. I don't remember, 56.3 or something like that. And then he went to throw for Texas A&M and really was more of a javelin thrower once he got there. But I started throwing 10 years old in the backyard with my brother, throwing shot and throwing disc. And so Mac Wilkins, how to throw the discus, and then Al Feuerbach's VHS.
Yes.
Basic 70-foot shot putting. What a great name.
Yeah.
What a great name. Basic 70-foot shot putting.
Do you still have those VHS tapes?
Yes. Yeah. And
do you really?
We still have them. Yeah. And so I actually talked to my dad today. So I'm still throwing. That's a good part. I want to talk again. I took 12 years off and I came back to it and kind of having a master career. And so I want to talk about that later. But I had a practice today and I was talking to him, and we referenced Mac Wilkins, and so he's got that VHS and he'll probably pull it out tonight and watch it.
Wow. Well,
that was awesome.
That is pretty cool. So I'm sure you didn't throw the 12-pound that long. So did you get it competitively when you got 11, 12, 13-year-old in summer track? Did they kind of introduce you into that?
No,
Okay.
I mean, I played baseball in Stratford, Texas in the summer. And so, I think we didn't have a baseball team in my high school, or my life would be a lot different, right? I'd probably doing a baseball podcast right now. So I got really good at this throwing thing in the meantime. And so one time come around to go to college, I got looks for football and I got looks for throwing, but I was obviously a lot better thrower than football player. And so that's the route I went. But as far as middle school goes, man, I threw from 10 years old. We threw all the time. In middle school, I was pretty good in the discus. I usually win those middle school meets, but I mean, it was nothing crazy. It was really probably my sophomore year in high school where I really started getting a lot better.
Really? Okay.
So that's kind of my journey.
Did you have a high school coach that kind of like helped you or kind of worked with your dad hands-on with your development and stuff?
No, I mean, I had great high school coaches. I love them. They were great people, but as far as our throwing goes, like we were really self-taught, and we'd watch those DVDs, we'd record ourselves. And, sometimes we'd have practice at school. I'd come home, we'd watch tape. I'd watch Mac Wilkins, and we'd go back at night, and in our backyard, we'd throw the shot put. So our backyard was holy land.
Yeah, man.
And we'd make technical changes just again based on what we're seeing on video. And I've journeyed, I've learned a whole lot about throwing now, and that's the best that we could do at the time. And it worked. I mean, it got me into throwing, it got me where I am today. And it was a great journey.
Wow.
But there's some good things about watching film and trying to, that I've learned later on. Like there's some things that are hard about that. And but it's what we did. I mean, that was the resource we had.
Yeah, cool. Now you threw a PR 60 feet in high school and shot and 163 in discus. Do you kind of remember those meets that kind of set you apart to maybe kind of be above average?
Yes. So like I said, I started spinning my freshman year in the shot, and it was rough. It was rough. I mean, it was really bad. So that whole year though was just reps and building that base. And then sophomore year, I threw, I'm trying to think, I think it was 49-11 and 3/4. And that was a 3-way tie at district. And so back then, I threw further, but I scratched the rest of my throws. Oh, wow. And so I didn't have a second throw, so I lost the tiebreaker. So I didn't get to go a sophomore to regional meet. The person who won our district got to go to state though. So, that was a 3-way tie. But that was okay. All those things that happen are part of our journey and make us better. At least if we choose to. But that's kind of when I started getting better. And then, junior year I made state in shot and discus. 56. I broke my brother's school record, which was 56.4 or something like that at the state meet. My junior year, I threw 56.8. I don't remember, it was something like that, but I broke the record there. And so, man, I was at an unlucky time in 2A track and field. I threw 56.8 and I got 4th place. My junior year in the shot put. My senior year, I threw 60 feet in the shot and I got 3rd place. I got a bronze medal with 60-foot throw in the shot put. I would have done better in 5A or 4A. I would have won 3A and 1A, and I'd have placed better in 5 but it was just, it was just.
Yeah, the people.
Yeah. What won it that year? Do you remember?
63.6.
Oh, wow. Yeah. From who was that?
Matt McKinney.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then he threw like 210 in the disc that year. And that I believe that's still the 2A state record.
Yeah, I believe it is. So did you call your brother immediately when you broke that record and say, hey, I broke your record?
He was probably there because my brother was a coach for me. My dad and my brother were really, coaches for me all along the way. And then even into college until my sophomore year. And then I got, Luke Hurst, that once we get to the college journey, like he helped me so much. And we'll talk about him and what specifically he helped me with. But most of that whole building process, right? It was, my mom videotaping us and then us watching Mac Wilkins Out for Your Buck DVD hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. And then my brother and my dad both helping me. My brother, again, he got to go throw at A&M. So, he got really good coaching. But again, he was more decathlete and javelin. But he was a great athlete. I'll never be a good athlete as my brother was. But
now, just to back up a little, set a bigger picture, were y'all rancher family? Did y'all have land? Did y'all work cattle and stuff?
So my dad worked for the Natural Resource Conservation Service. So he worked with all the farmers and ranchers in Sherman County. We actually do have land, but that's in Wellington, Texas. We have some cattle, we have some cotton, but that's like, it's a bigger family ranch that we have down there. Really, we just go deer hunt.
So nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
What was your dad's background? Was he an athlete? Because he seems like he really pushed you boys and helped y'all out. What was his background?
Well, really cool about that is, he was an athlete, but definitely not throwing at all. so he was an athlete, you know, I mean, he played high school athletics, football, baseball, anything like that. But, you know, nothing, you know, collegiately or anything like that. But what's pretty cool is my granddad is in the West Texas A&M Hall of Honor or whatever they call it. And so
Oh, wow.
he was the first scholarship football player to WT, West Texas College or whatever the name was back
Yeah.
then.
What it was,
whatever
what it was before.
So you know, but as far as throwing goes, it was just kind of a random thing that happened. Again, my brothers were in throwing, and you know, they wanted to do better, and my dad said, "Hey, we don't know what's going on here," and you know, y'all got to hear the rest of the story.
So did y'all actually like have a toe board set up out there, or did y'all have bricks as a toe board? Kind of give us a visual of what that throwing ring looked like in your backyard.
It's just the backyard. We eventually had to, you know, so we wore holes where our right and left feet would be in the back of the circle.
Yeah.
And then my dad would just take a hoe and he measured a circle and he'd just hoe the diameter, you know.
Oh, really?
But, yeah. No
Like
toe
a
board or anything
trench.
like that. Yeah. And so,
That's awesome.
yeah. So eventually we started throwing far enough. Like if you threw 50 feet, really our backyard would handle it. But once I started throwing 60, we had a brick fence in the back. Like it started trying to break that thing down. So we had to put a barrier back there eventually, you know.
That's cool. We hear all the time that kids, oh, I don't have any place to throw. I don't have any place to throw. And, you know, I need this and all this type of stuff. In reality, man, you don't need none of that. Just go do it.
Yeah.
And you know, I've read a lot of stuff. I still research throwing, and I heard Brian Oldfield talk about he would throw in the grass quite a bit. And so that was actually a part of his training. And we just did it because that's what we had to do. But I look back, like there's some things about throwing in grass that really helped me to get into the ground. And I think like, hey, that was an accident that happened that helped teach me to really, you know, I call corkscrew into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
The left and the right and the middle, and you know, just throwing in grass a lot really taught me that, I believe. So it was a lucky accident, you know, which I don't believe in accidents, right? I believe in, you know, bigger purpose behind everything. So we'll call it grace.
Amen to that. So just to back up a little bit too, is your recruiting. So we know you went to McMurry, but was there any schools that looked at you kind of, you know, maybe to do a dual sport athlete like D1 schools? And how did that recruiting go? And how did you wind up at McMurry?
Yeah, that's a good story. So I was really close. Like, I mean, I'm talking 5 minutes away from signing with SFA.
Oh, really? Okay.
There, which was a half scholarship my freshman year. And then if I showed up and did what, you know, looked like I would do, it was going to be a full scholarship. So, sometimes when I'm paying my student loan, I think about, man, maybe I should have done that.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm just kidding. That's a joke. But I'd never regret it for 1 second. And I'm back coaching at McMurray. I mean, I love that program. It runs through my blood. You're going to hear a lot about McMurray track and field.
Good.
But, you know, again, man, I don't believe in, you know, I'm a very spiritual person, you know, deep believer in God. And so I was 17, you know, just by the way my birthday fell when I graduated high school. And so when I was coming back from that trip, we got rained out in the airport. I was almost going to sign, but I wanted to come home, talk to my parents about it. And so our flight got canceled. But because I was 17, I couldn't get a hotel room. I couldn't go anywhere. So I was just stuck in the airport overnight. And I always just took that as a sign that just wasn't meant to be. You know, looking back, I just had to trust that. And so I went home, and then, you know, McMurray was kind of this crazy thing. I actually literally said the words, I will never go to McMurry University, right? I said those words out of my mouth. And I think God said, oh yeah, you know, he's in charge. And really it was just a prayerful process. And then we just stopped by, and I met Barbara Krausen, who was the track and field coach for me there. And she's a very special lady in track and field. And within about 5 minutes of meeting her and just seeing her fire, her passion for track and field, I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And I mean, it took about that long. And so McMurray, you know, for a lot of reasons was a great fit for me. Small college, you know, being from a small town, I thrived there academically, and then in track and field, I mean, I just thrived there. So I mean, it was meant to be. I met my wife there. I got in a Christian rock band there. I mean, there were so many blessings, and now I work there that it continues to give back. So God knew what he was doing by sending me there. And I think it was just one of those things that's where I was supposed to go. But as far as the recruiting process, like I got letters from almost any college, throwing 60 feet and in high school that, I had offers from a lot of big schools, a lot of D1s, and, I could have pretty much gone just about anywhere. I couldn't go to Harvard because I didn't make a 29 on my ACT. But they said if I did, I could have gone there. They sent me a letter.
Yeah.
If you got a 29 on your ACT, you can come here.
Wow.
So
Gotcha.
other than Harvard, I think I could have gone just about anywhere I wanted to. But again, I love Division III track and field. I think it's an incredible sport. I think it's an underrated sport. And so part of it for me was that D3 track and field experience was a great thing for me, where I got the opportunity to be a 5-time national champion at Division III, 6-time All-American there. I think my senior year, I probably could have been an All-American in Division I, but I wouldn't have the multiple national championships and got to have, all the national meet experience that I got there. And so, and then I'll see that, hey, even in Division III, I got to achieve at a pretty high level at 61.9. I was very proud of my college PR there in the shot put. So hold on, my computer's doing something funny. I just got to push a button. I lost shot.
Oh,
Can you hear us?
Yeah, my computer did something weird, so I lost you for 1 second. I'm back. Sorry.
Yeah, technology. So did you do a lot with the 16, in the backyard with your dad and stuff, or was that a big transition for you stepping up?
Freshman year was rough on me. That was a hard transition. So, I was also a very small thrower.
Okay.
In high school, 200 pounds, I was 6 foot, 200 pounds. I actually ran the mile relay also for Stratford, not because I was incredibly fast at that, but, I mean, I was probably 4th or 5th fastest leg there. And so, the district meet, coaches said, hey, you got to run the mile relay for the team. And I did. And man, I died. It took me about, 2 or 3 days to recover from that. But, so about 200 pounds coming out of high school. So it's pretty small. And that probably, I probably would have got recruited a little bit more if I was a little bit bigger. So, I mean, I did get recruited, but that probably was one reason I didn't get recruited quite as hard as I did.
Gotcha. So was Barbara your throws coach that first year?
So no, so Barbara was, always the head track and field coach.
Okay, yeah.
Which I want to brag on her real quick. She's the first woman to coach a men's team in NCAA to a national championship in any sport.
Really?
So she coached our men's team to 2 team national championships. And so I believe another woman has done that after that, but she was the first woman to ever coach a men's team in the NCAA to a national championship. So she was our head coach, and man, she's very important to me on how to compete and how to, always be ready mentally and all that.
Hi, my name is Meredith Mcgee, and my father is the founder of Porta Circle. We created Porta Circle in order to make throwing more accessible so that you can truly train anywhere. Growing up in Rochester, weather was often a roadblock toward training, and having the Porta Circle was a lifesaver for both the indoor and outdoor season. Circles start at $149 and go to our website to learn more. www.porta-circle.com. Porta Circle, making training convenient.
But my freshman year, we had a multis coach who was my throws coach.
Okay.
Coach Ed, and they really were kind of trying to turn me into a multi my first year.
Were they really?
Shot Put and Discus, I ran the mile relay. I was 200 pounds, and so I was pretty fast, but I would not have been a good multi. That would have been so, pole vault, that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah,
that wasn't going to happen.
way.
So my first year, I probably did better in discus in college than shot put. I did, however, I made the national meet indoor and outdoor in the shot put as a freshman. And then I made the national meet in the discus as well as a freshman. I think so. Some of these things I don't remember. One of those years I didn't make it. I qualified, but like they take the top 16 or whatever. I think I was like 18th. But
so you were still probably doing a little bit of self-coaching like you did during high school
yes,
with your dad and your brothers, during your freshman year and stuff.
yes.
I'm kind of curious, how would the coach look back at you your freshman year about your technique rotationally in the shot put?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So I threw 53 my freshman year. That was my PR. And so as a college coach now, I kind of do not based off of me, but a lot of things. I'll do a 7-foot subtraction from their high school mark and then give or take with the 16. So basically my freshman year was flat. I would say in the shot put, I didn't make any improvement. So that was a rough transition for me. As I look back at my technique, my freshman year, I think there wasn't enough of wrapping in the middle of the circle, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So that the upper body never really gave a chance for my lower body to get ahead of it. So that was the thing that probably with the 12, I guess I was able to get away with somewhat. And the 16, just it magnified that a little bit my freshman year.
Will you view yourself as the thrower as kind of very analytical? And the reason I bring this up is because a lot of kids who self-coach, I coached a kid out of East Texas that's at A&M now, and he was super analytical with his thoughts because he was self-taught and he visualized everything and he had that visual image in his head, and then he would relate that to feel. I was just kind of curious if you kind of followed that same path of that.
Yes, absolutely. So now that I'm a coach, like this has been really cool coaching. It's changed the way I think about it. So I was incredibly analytical and probably too much so. It's good and it got me to where I was. So I guess it's hard to say that. But now as a coach, I really try to coach feel way more. I really do. Cool. And we can talk about that later if you want to.
Yeah, we will.
The coaching side, but I was very analytical. Now, the one thing that I do like is the visualization though. So visualization was massive for me. I probably did as many mental reps as physical reps in the ring. Really? And to me, that was important. Again, that goes back to Mac Wilkins. Man, Mac Wilkins' video to me it was a great instructional, it's a good beginner instruction to discus. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, like some of the mental skills that he talks about in there are brilliant. So for me, that was probably the most important thing out of that. And so I still pull life wisdom, from that Mac Wilkins VHS. Yeah. Visualization was huge. He talked about that quite a bit. If you can visualize it, you can do it. That's one of the things he said in that DVD. So that was a big deal. Now we were really analytical. And like I said, sometimes that's good and sometimes it's not, but.
No, I was just thinking, can you get that VHS now? Can I Google it on YouTube? We haven't talked about that. Can you find Mac Wilkins video?
Yeah, I think so.
Wide Web?
We looked for it, but I mean, it was pretty expensive. So they're rare and they're pretty expensive now. I think it's like $100 or something. I think we looked it up. Yeah. So you could probably find it, but we still have it on VHS. But it's harder to find now.
Maybe harder. Yeah.
Back didn't the VHS have that thing that says you couldn't copy it because it was illegal back in the day?
Yeah, that's right.
That's true.
Yeah, I would not be, without a doubt, I would not have had the success I had nor be where I am without that DVD. And I probably would have played a different sport in college too, to be honest with you, without that DVD. But I'm very thankful that, we found it.
So did you have a good training group at McMurry? Was there other throwers that you kind of worked with and y'all challenged each other through the 45 years that you were there?
Yes. So McMurry track and field, right? Barbara Krausen set a great program in motion, which was really cool. So, we had that program it was brand new though. So I came in the second year of a new program, but again, 8 years later, so I came in 2008, they won the national championship. So that began to set in motion. Now, my freshman year, the women actually got second at the national championship as a team. So I had a really talented team to train with. And so part of that was, man, just having those upperclassmen who were focused on working, becoming All-Americans. And so my freshman year, I got to learn from Brad Paris. So he won 5 national championships in the pole vault. But, you know, being at the national meet as a freshman, getting to watch him win a national championship, I believe I got to see him win number 4 and number 5. He talked to me about his mindset, how he prepared for the national meets. Like, that was massive. That was an important thing. So I had a chance to win 6, but I didn't do it. I tied him at 5. So we're tied for the most individual men's national championships at McMurry. We had another guy come after us, Han Ollison. He won 6, but some of those are with relays. And then Darcel Edwards won 6 national championships on the women's side in triple jump and long jump. So,
wow.
And then as a thrower, there was a freshman thrower that we came in pretty close together. His name was Noah, good friend of mine, real good guy. And, you know, we were really pretty close. I think, you know, I threw 53 in shot. I think he threw 49 or 50. And I think I was 160 in the disc, and he was right there at 150. So we got to throw together, push each other, and that was really good. But then my sophomore, junior, and senior year, Jared Cook was a teammate of mine, and he's the head coach at ACU now. So he was my teammate. Then my senior year, he actually became my throwing coach.
Oh, really?
Yes. So he's an incredible throws coach now. I mean,
so did he throw Matt Wilkins out the door and said, "You do it my way"?
Well, so in between, you know, we had Luke Hurst, who was both of our coaches for 2 years. So he coached Jared in the hammer. So Jared was a hammer thrower, a national qualifier in the hammer, multiple times an All-American in the weight throw. He's still our school record holder.
Is he
So
really?
coach,
Okay.
I'm trying to get my athletes to break that here. So we're chasing them here in the next couple of years. I think we're gonna really, this year, next year, hopefully we really get close to breaking that and break that school record. So senior year, you know, it was a good transition that he was my teammate and then, you know, just became coach. But I mean, we worked our tails off together. You know, we'd go in the weight room. I mean, we pushed ourselves. And so having him was invaluable to me, having that teammate that just wanted to be great, also wanted to be the very best he could. And then we'd lift hard. We'd crank up the metal music, you know, back then, and crank it up and lift heavy. And I mean, that was invaluable, you know. So I got inducted to the McMurry Hall of Honor a few weeks ago. And so I talked about my teammates and how I could not have done this without them and my coaches. And I mean, it's very true. You know, having those people around you to push you, it's important, because not every day you feel like it, you know, and you need those people to, hey, we're going anyway.
Yeah. So you said earlier you met your wife at McMurry, right?
Yes.
Was she an athlete?
No, she played golf in high school.
Okay.
She played golf in high school, but no, she didn't, you know, she doesn't want to watch football with me. She doesn't want to have anything to do with the athletics too much. She's just put up with me all these years, basically. But she's incredibly supportive. I mean, she's always supported me, my number one supporter. And so, she's put up with me this whole time though, but no, she's not an athlete.
Not an athlete, but y'all met at McMurry while you were in college, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Was she a student there?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she was 1 year younger than me. So I mean, we actually graduated the same class. So I actually redshirted a year. You know, being 17, I made that decision to redshirt a year, which was in between my freshman and sophomore year. So that year, you know, to transition to the 16-pound shot, and again, just, you know, not that I graduated early, but I did graduate 17 just because of my birthday. That gave me a chance to kind of get used to the 16-pound shot and kind of get ready. And so then those last 3 years, sophomore, junior.
Did Jared introduce you to weight and a hammer while you were throwing in college?
I threw those things. It was
what?
Yeah, pretty much we throw it at the conference meet, you know, because Barbara, as you know, as Coach Krausen, is known for saying like, hey, I don't want to just beat them, I want to crush them at the conference meet. So I threw hammer also to get the extra 2-3 points. Now, my senior year, because I threw it sophomore year at conference, junior year at conference, by my senior year, I actually threw 155 in hammer and won our conference meets, which again, now that I coach it, man, it was all my power clean strength, and it was ugly as it possibly could be. I just got by on strength. And then in weight, I threw 51 indoors, but I mean, that was just me muscling it out there. I mean, that's all that was. So
yeah. Well, you just listen to you talk. I just gather that you have this internal drive that you just liked when it's all about the competition. You just have that internal drive to go out and succeed. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Is that because you grew up as a younger brother having to compete against those guys?
I mean, that's part of it. I think that was definitely part of it. So, man, I call it the fire inside. Like, I go into this place. So I was telling one of my athletes, just this week, one of our freshmen. And so I was telling him, hey, when I train, this is my attitude. When I go in that weight room, I want to meet the coward inside of me. I want to find my weakness and I want to push it back one bit more every day. And so, man, it's all about the internal drive for me. And so I also tell our athletes all the time, the most powerful force in the world is the human mind. And so by the mind, I don't mean the brain. I mean that internal part of us, right? Which I think is like where our humanity meets divinity. And it's from that spot that we find our internal drive. And so, that's the biggest reason for my success, I think, is just I would make up my mind and I'm really stubborn and then I would do it. So this kind of will transition us to where I started becoming very successful in college. My freshman year, I missed being All-American by 1 centimeter at the outdoor meet. I think I got 9th, and it was really close. I don't remember exactly, but this makes a better story.
Yeah.
And so my sophomore year, I remember calling and telling my dad, I said, I'm going to win the national championship this year. And he's told me after the fact, like when I first told him that, he's like, yeah, you were my son and I wanted to believe you, but I didn't think you could do it. And, basically I'm stubborn enough when I set my mind on something, right? It's just going to make it happen. And so that was the focus every rep in the weight room, right? Like I just knew that I was going to win the national championship every rep while I'm hang cleaning, like that's in the front of my mind. And when I'm out there throwing, just pushing for that. So I think that's a good thing. And then we can kind of talk later about when I transitioned out of throwing, how I had to learn how to be content as well, which is a very important thing to learn. But that internal fire, like it's still big inside of me. I missed out that freshman year by 1 centimeter being an All-American, finished 9th. And so my sophomore year indoor nationals, I came in ranked 4th, and I think I had thrown like 55-11. And the top rated thrower indoor that year was like 56-11 or something like that, 56-8. And, I was like, man, I had a couple good weeks of practice. I told my dad, like, I'm going to go win this thing. And so I threw 57-2 at that meet, and I finished 4th. Well, that thrower on his last throw breaks the national record, which was like 4 feet further than anybody had thrown that year.
Wow.
Well, they go and they weigh the shot, and there was a 14-pound shot that got put into the competition.
Really?
Yes. And so I'm kind of famous for this first one, right? I'll still go to the D3 national meets and a coach will say, do you remember when you had to redo the competition? Yeah, I remember that. And so we had to redo the whole thing. And so we had film where I threw my shot put, that was weighed in 16 pounds. We had the film, of the other people throwing the 14-pound shot, but they said the only fair way we can do this is to just redo the competition. So I think we had like a 3-hour layover, and we had to come back and we had to redo the competition.
So the whole competition, or just the top 9?
The whole thing from scratch. And we started all over like it never happened. And my first 2 throws were terrible, and I wasn't in the finals. And so my third throw, I put one out there, and I was 5th place in the finals, I think 5th or 7th. I made it in the finals, but it wasn't great and anywhere close to what I could throw. And I just wasn't throwing good, and I was off. And 4th throw wasn't very good either. And then, man, you know, I went to that internal place, right?
Yeah.
And I remember I said this prayer. So it's kind of a prayer, but I just said, Satan, I'm winning this thing, right? And it's just like, I am going to win this. And then I said, God, if that's okay with you. So that was the 2 sides of that prayer.
That's okay.
You know, which there's some beauty in that prayer, really, actually. And then I stepped in on my 5th throw and I took the lead. So I went from I think I was 7th. I went from 7th to 1st. The guy in 1st on his 5th throw beat that throw about 1 centimeter. This is all a true story. This one is for sure. And then on my 6th throw, I beat that throw about 1 more centimeter.
Oh, wow.
And I remember that throw, and you can feel your throws, and it wasn't there. I just wheeled that thing out there a centimeter further, like to this day. You know, the 5th throw was a good throw. It felt good. And that 6th throw, man, I think like, hey, I made up my mind that it wasn't going to stop me. And
wow.
And I won by 1
That's
centimeter.
amazing.
Yep.
That's amazing.
That's a good story.
I'm sure y'all had to do some mental adjustments and stuff when the officials told you to come back. We got to come back 3 hours later for that.
Yeah, I was wrestling with it, and I remember talking with Coach Krausen, and then I remember talking with my brother. And I don't remember exactly what they said, but they just said, "Hey, this is what." I know Coach Krausen said, "This is what it is. Just go do it." And her, in the way she would, And I remember talking with my brother. I don't remember what he said, but I remember like that conversation got my frame of mind ready to go again. But I was pretty upset about it in the first place. But I got myself ready to go and go throw. So one thing I'm proud of was those first 3 national championships I won them on the final throw of the competition every time.
Really?
So sophomore year, outdoor, it was raining. I was in 5th place in the finals. And I actually made the call. I took my throwing shoes off and I put my regular flats on in the wet ring. And then, on my last throw, I hit a big PR, and I actually won by about 6 or 8 inches on that final throw. And then junior year outdoor, I got 3rd indoor. And so what's ironic about that is I was injured. I wouldn't have gone on a normal, if it wasn't the national meet, I probably wouldn't have thrown that week.
Yeah.
But ironically, I never threw further in my life than I did that day. But I just couldn't stay in the ring. So my back was messed up. I could throw far, but I just didn't have enough of that block side to hold it in the ring. So my first throw was like 55, which at the time for me, I was throwing 59, pretty consistent, 60 feet that year. So, that was just getting a safe one out there. But I threw it probably like 62, 63 that day. Which at that time would have been a big PR. It would have been my PR. But that was a big throw for me at that time. And it was a bomb. I think it was probably close to like 63. But I just couldn't stay in the ring. And I had 5 throws over 60, but I scratched them all. So I got 3rd at that meet. But then outdoor, I was healthy. I was ready to go. And then, you have your meet plan, and it was going perfect. I got my first throw in at about 58, and I knew that'd be top 3. Then I was pushing it, and missed the throw here, whatever. I scratched the throw. 4th throw was going to would have won the meet. It was right at 60 feet. And they called, because I was a spinner, they called me for being on the lip in the back of the circle, which,
your left heel.
There's a rule change now. My coach taught me to actually
hate that rule.
Yeah, my heel wasn't down. We had the video, but, again, they didn't call it on any of the other meets ever, but on that one throw, that one time they called it. And then so I had to get myself ready. Like my meet plan was going perfect. I was ready to hit a big throw. Like I think I would have been ready to rip over 61, 62 that day. Like I was ready for that. I was really consistent. So I really usually knew what I could do at a meet within inches, which again is good or bad. Sometimes you know what to expect, which was good for championship meets. I think that's why I performed well. But then sometimes you're limiting yourself, on what you can hit.
Yeah.
But anyway, on my last throw, I just took a whole step back from the back of the circle, just to make sure they wouldn't call that foul again. And then I just got one out there, and I think I threw 59.9. and I won by about 3 or 4 inches. I mean, there was 3 over 59 at that competition.
Wow.
So I mean, it was a good one. And so then my senior year, you know, I was, you know, blessed enough that really that neither one of those competitions were incredibly close. I think my first throw in both of those, I think were the winning marks, and then I went on to improve them from there.
Did
So
you ever think about like did you go to Texas? I'm curious, did you ever compete against any D1 athletes and like go to Texas relays or any of those big meets like that, or
Yes.
have aspirations of maybe trying to qualify for the Olympic trials or the U.S. nationals?
yes, absolutely. So I went to Texas relays 3 times. My
Okay.
senior year, I won the B division at Texas relays.
Oh, did you
And
really?
then I competed in the A division. I think I got 4th in the A division there.
Good, awesome.
And so, you know, that was against some really good throwers that beat me there. And so yeah, that was good. My senior year, I believe I was like 1st or 2nd of all collegiate throwers in the state of Texas, D1 included. It was
wow.
me and Brian Robeson, who played for the Vikings.
Yeah.
Him and I were 1 and 2 in the whole state of Texas that year out of all shot putters in Texas. So, and then I qualified B standard for the national championships that year.
Okay.
So I was 24th and they took 22.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I missed it by 4 centimeters, 6 centimeters, something like that. I was really close, but I hit the B standard. That's something I was very proud of. So that junior year, that throw indoor, that would have been 63, would have made the indoor nationals easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a goal of mine, was to make that meet.
That's cool,
So,
man. To compete on that level and go out and improve yourself. Not to say that they were the big boys, but to be able to compete. And, you know, because that's the thing about shot put and throwing and the discus is it doesn't matter where you go to school or how big you are. The shot put's the same size. The rings are the same size. The sector's the same width. Let's just go out and compete. And I don't care what degree you have or what your school say. Let's go throw. So,
yes, absolutely. So another thing is most of the meets we went to would be against D1 and D2 schools, you know.
Okay.
So my senior year, I won every track meet that I was in, except Texas Relays A division, which was my 3rd straight day of competing. So I won a meet on Thursday. I did the B division. I won that. I threw further, you know, on the B division than I did on that 3rd day in the A division. I think I threw over 60 when I threw in the B division. Then that last day I threw like 59.9, I think, in the A division. But it was one of those things, I threw far that day. I was just really ripping for it. I didn't stay in the ring, you know. Yeah. So you got to go for it, right? When you're on that stage. So
I'm also too, just from a technical thing, would you identify that you were kind of more speed and explosive and rhythm than maybe hitting the right positions and stuff?
Yes. I mean, explosive. Yeah. That would probably be, you know, I look back now, man. So I was a spinner in the shot, and I created my power from the left leg in the back, which is not even a good thing, you know.
Like the push?
But yes. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Go hard. So that sprint off the left in the back was where I created most of my power from. So now as a coach, like I rigor at that, you know.
Yeah.
Because I mean, yes, you want to sprint and you want to create power from there, but I mean, I was extending that leg completely. And then I would just wrap hard. So that's what my coach, you know, Luke, that's the one thing he told me. It's like, hey, when you face the ring, I want you to stop your upper body and then wrap really hard. And so because I pushed so hard out of the back, like I had to do that in order for that left hip to ever get in front of the throw. And so I look back at my technique now, it was okay, but man, you know, sometimes I'm like, oh man, you know, as you learn, like, oh, I rigor that that's what I did. But there's something about that that's important too. As a coach, this is my own philosophy now. Okay. You can agree or disagree with it. Everybody is throwing correctly for where the implement is in that space and time. So if your implement is not where it needs to be in relationship to your body, you are creating power. Like you are feeling the feeling of trying to throw far and create power. So what kids are doing is right in the sense that the discus is here, they're leaning in, but that is actually creating power on the implement. And so if you don't change the relationship of the path of the implement and where it is compared to the body, then if you're correcting that, then you are actually taking away what is creating their power. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So that technique for me worked, and it created power for me, and I threw far from that. So, is it right? Is it wrong? That's a good question. It worked, And so sometimes we have to trust our awareness, and our subconscious mind is smarter than our rational brain. And so as a coach, that's something that I'm trying to learn.
Yeah.
It's just, if I get too technical, I don't like it. I usually don't see good results with it.
And I'm the same way with our kids and stuff. Is you want them to be positive and have be on the same page as we are. I'm curious though, because we're getting into that coaching aspect of it. Did you know your sophomore, junior, senior year that you wanted to get into coaching and even maybe coach in college? Were you having those aspirations, or were you looking to go get in the corporate world?
Never the corporate world, but so I was in ministry, really.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's been a cool journey also. I've thought about coaching a little bit, but that's just because I love throwing.
Yeah.
So 2 years after I graduated, I coached at McMurry. Wasn't a GA because I wasn't in graduate school, but that was basically what the position would have been like, like a part-time assistant, very little pay, but I coached the throws, and it was great. And I like that. But I was in a Christian rock band, so I'm a musician. And so we had a great career. We were full-time musicians. We did summer camps, Disciple Nows. We played worship for multiple churches, weekly. And
what was the name of the band?
Burgundy Road.
Burgundy Road.
Mm-hmm. So that was a great part of my, my life and my journey. And so,
what'd you play?
Bass guitar.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was in ministry. Then I've done a lot of youth ministry. I actually have my Master of Divinity. And then I've been a worship pastor for 8 years. And so 2 of those years overlapped with me coaching at McMurry. So I was doing both of them kind of part-time. And then it just got to be, those weekends where we would get back late, and then I'd have to get there Sunday morning.
Yeah.
It was a lot. I got too old for that.
Yeah.
And, what's kind of cool was man, God was in this process of pulling me out of the church walls, and not that that's bad at all. And so I'm not saying that, but for me, he was trying to tug at my heart in that way for a couple of years. And I was like, no, I have to stay kind of inside the walls of the building. And then now that I found coaching is such a great ministry. And so it's my ministry now, and I love it. I love coaching. So that was kind of my path into coaching. And the reason, even then, I actually started throwing again first. So I was a personal trainer first. So I was a personal trainer for, I don't know, it's been 6 years now, and nutrition coach. So again, another part of that journey was when I stopped throwing and I stopped training, I ate the same. So I blew up to 300 pounds basically.
That doesn't work, Cody. That works for me.
So yeah, I was 300 pounds. I was on blood pressure medication. I was having anxiety, lots of stuff. And I decided, hey, I got to get healthy. So, that was this, weight loss. I got down to 210 at one point. And then I got bored and I started throwing again. So I'm still pretty lean, but I'm back up to about 240 so I can throw. Man, I threw the 16-pound shot again at 210, 220, and man, I felt exposed. That thing was heavy.
You was like, where's that Matt Wilkinson video?
Yeah, that's right. That was heavy. But so I'm back up to 240, but I'm maintaining that weight, and pretty lean for that, and got a lot of my strength back. So I was a personal trainer for a long time. That's really what got me back into coaching.
Really?
Personal training, and I loved it. And it was honestly, my personal training business was doing great. It really was. I was starting to make lots of money. I was being really successful as a trainer, and I was really close to being a full-time personal trainer. My wife and I talked about it. We could see hey, I'm getting lots of clients, and this is going really well, getting results for people. And God said, no, I want you to go coach at McMurry full time. I was still part-time and doing personal training. So I was going to be able to stay on and coach the throws there. Well, it wasn't, but 3 or 4 months after that COVID happened, and I would have lost all of my business in that shutdown. So, the Lord in his graciousness, he prepared me for that. But he also knew me better than I knew myself, because I love coaching the throws so much. Like I can't even tell you that, like, that's my place. Sometimes it takes you a long time. I'm almost 40 years old to really find your place in life. And that's it. So the Lord in his graciousness got me there at my alma mater program that I love. And hey, we got really, really good throwers. We have a great track team right now. We're really, really, we love our kids and our momentum going forward. Like, we're really putting a great program together. So it's fun, and I love being there. So,
so how many years is this is coaching for you now?
Yeah, it's my 4th year, the beginning of my 4th year.
Being in the 4th year.
Right. Okay. And so, of course, part of that was that COVID time. So we missed out on a lot of that. So, man, some of my throwers are going to listen to this, but that's okay. I can admit it. I was a good thrower, but I wasn't a good coach when I started. So this has been a process and a journey. Now, I was a good coach because I knew what it took to help them to throw further in some ways, right? The intangibles of it. But man, I'm so excited. In that time, I got to work with Coach Woolman since then, and got to pick his brain a lot. And then Jason Young from Texas Tech, had lots of conversations with him. We competed together. So he would throw shot against me and I'd throw discus against him. I would beat him in the shot, but he would smoke me in the discus. So it doesn't balance out. He beat me in the disc way more than I beat him in the shot. So, but anyway, learned so much from those two people. I mean, it's not even funny. And then, what's been funny is I've had great success coaching the javelin. It's been this weird thing.
Really?
That's the one event I really didn't do, but my brother threw javelin at A&M, so I got to pick his brain. And there's some similarities. I just got to kind of like, hey, this is like glide shot put in some ways, and so I've had really good success coaching javelin. But now I'm really starting to get together this hammer thing too, and it's a lot of fun. And now I'm like, man, I should have thrown more hammer in college. Like, if I could go back and do one thing, I'd have thrown a lot more hammer, because it's a really cool event. It's a great event. It's a fun event. So
I'm the same way. We're really good friends with Chris Crowley and Chandra, and I look back and I was like, man, I wish I'd have picked up that, because I'd have loved to throw the hammer for sure.
Before we jump into more of your coaching and this master's thing, you were a really great student while you were there at McMurry. So tell us, how did you balance those things, or how do you even help your athletes right now balance being an athlete and the student part? Because that gets to be a lot. There's a lot involved.
I have to be honest with this, okay?
Remember, your students are listening.
I know, but I can't lie, because that would be worse than.
Right, that's true.
I wasn't a great student. I'm just very gifted to be very smart. That's the truth. I wasn't very good
hard at it. Okay.
That's the truth. I'm sorry. Now, the one thing I did do is I tell them, like, go to every class and turn everything in on time. Other than that, the glory is God's in that. Like, he's, and that's part of being a thrower. Like, God gave me a very gifted mind. So, I mean, I think that's important in the throws, being analytical, like mental strength. That's what the Al Feuerbach VHS says. Like, all great throwers have great mental strength. So, now in my master's, I made a 4.0 and I studied a lot and I learned what it was. So, but I was in a lot different place in life. So I would love to tell you I was a great student. I studied all the time, but no, I just, I was gifted. And so all the glory goes to God in that. So that's the truth. My mom and dad are listening, and they'll listen to this and they know the truth. So if I lied, my mama would have been all over.
They would be like, you did not study. You know better than
I understand that.
All right, we want to thank you guys for listening to our first episode with Cody Brotherton. We love talking with him, so you need to tune in next week to check the second half of our discussion with Cody. We want to thank our sponsors, Texas Track and Field Coaches Association. Go to ttfca.org. Check out all the latest news in track and field in the state of Texas. And then fourthrows.com, use the code TalkingThrows10 to get 10% off. They've got quality implements, priced right. Go check them out. We love Fourth Throws. Porta Circle, making throwing more accessible. It's cold and rainy around here right now, so a Porta Circle would be great to throw in a garage to get some reps in. If you're in the Austin area, go to Ready Up Athletic Development. Go check Zach out at readyupad.com. For some training in the Austin area. His phone number is 512-507-8347.
Hello, Talking Throws Texas podcasters. I'm Bruce Caldwell. I'm here today to introduce the Fiber Sport Discus. Yes, many of you thought I only made great vaulting poles. I have been bringing quality discuses to the throwers' hands for over 40 years. First as Cantabrian USA representative, then for the past 10 years as the Nelco Discus distributor. I introduced the yellow-plated discus for the plastic's best durability. If your Fiber Sport discus breaks, we replace it. Our studies have reached into the science of using a wind tunnel and adding microchips to the discus to find the spin, the gravity, the flight stability of the discus. We have found it's not about rim weight anymore. It's more about creating a balanced stability to allow the discus to fly and surf the wind. Our new Fiber Sport discus is made to be selected to fit your needs, no matter the weather, no matter the conditions. Check out our discus selection guide at fibersportdiscus.com and find a dealer in your area that sells our fine product. Thank you, Jason and Janelle, for allowing me to talk with your listeners on Talk and Throws Texas Style.
And remember, go check out thethrowingfactory.com. Check out our website. We've got, lots of things going on right now. We're getting close to indoor track season and then our spring track season. So go check us out and check out the shopping page. And then remember, Lifting DFW. We've got some new shirts made. We've got some cool shopping apparel out there. So go check out our Lifting DFW Human Performance. Go check out that website. You start as a 2-star athlete, but finish as a 4-star athlete. It's made for young kids who are ready just to learn what it takes to be an athlete, made for some of us, middle-aged women who are looking to just get a little bit stronger. So it's great. So check that out so Coach Jason can hook you up with some training. Thanks, guys. Tune in next week for part 2 with Cody Brotherton.